Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at short-term rentals. You know those alternatives to hotels that everyone's been talking about,
Yeah.
especially since the pandemic. We've got some excerpts here from a guide all about short-term renting. It's got some really interesting insights into this whole trend, what's driving it, what it means for travelers and hosts. Like, get this, demand for these rentals is actually higher now than it was before the pandemic. Kind of crazy, right? So why exactly are people ditching traditional hotels for these unique places? Let's find out.
Well, it is a pretty fascinating shift. I think it really shows how much people want more flexibility, more personalized travel experiences.
Okay,
So
so
I bet.
before we get too deep into the why,
Oh,
let's make sure we're all on the same page about what a short-term rental actually is. I mean, we're talking about renting a fully furnished place for a short amount of time. Could be a few nights, could be a couple of weeks. Think Airbnb, Verbo, that sort of thing. It's not like a traditional long-term lease where you're stuck for a whole year.
exactly. That's a key difference. Short-term rentals give you a level of agility that you just don't get with hotels.
Right. You could book a place for a quick weekend trip,
Yeah.
a business trip, or even just because you need to change the scenery for a couple days. No need to commit to a full week or more.
Yeah, you've got options with short-term rentals.
And you've got so many different options. You can rent a whole house if you want privacy, a private room in a house if you're on a budget, or
Yeah.
even just a shared space if you're really trying to save money.
It's like choose your own adventure, but for places to stay. And that variety, that's one of the big reasons they're so popular.
Totally. And speaking of reasons, let's look at why more and more travelers are choosing this way of traveling. Flexibility and convenience are definitely big factors. You're not tied to hotel check-in and check-out times. And you can find a place that fits your needs exactly, whether you're traveling alone
With someone.
or with a group.
And, you know, I think people are also looking for more authentic experiences, staying in a real neighborhood instead of a touristy hotel district. It gives you the chance to live like a local, even if it's just for a little while. You can shop at the local markets, find hidden cafes, get a real feel for the area.
It's like trading in a postcard for actually being part of the story of a place.
Hmm.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it's not just the travelers who are benefiting from all this. Let's look at it from the host side for a minute. The potential to make some extra money is a huge plus. I mean, think about it. You could turn that spare room or that vacation home into a source of income.
That's right. And it's not just about supplementing your income. Short-term rentals can actually bring in more money than long-term leases, especially if you're smart about pricing, particularly during peak seasons or when there are local events happening.
It's like having a side hustle built right into your property. And the best part is, you're the one in control. You decide when to rent, when to block out dates. You can even take breaks whenever you want.
It's perfect for people who value their independence and want to set their own schedules. And honestly, there's a social aspect to it too. You get to meet people from all over the world, share stories, maybe even learn a thing or two about different cultures.
Okay, so we've covered the why, the reasons behind this short-term rental boom. But how about the how? How do you actually pick the right rentals for you? Our guide breaks it down into a few key steps, starting with figuring out your needs and priorities. Do you absolutely need a fully equipped kitchen, a place that allows pets? What about accessibility features? Once you know what's non-negotiable for you, you can start narrowing down your search.
It's like being a detective for your dream vacation stay. And location is key too. Do you want to be in the middle of all the action in the city center? Or do you prefer the peace and quiet of a beach escape? Think about how close you want to be to public transport, restaurants, and the attractions you're interested in.
That's right, and our guide also talks about the importance of amenities. You want a pool, a gym, laundry facilities. These little extras can really make a difference, even if it means paying a bit more per night.
And sometimes, that slightly higher nightly rate can actually save you money in the long run, especially if it means you don't have to eat out for every meal or pay for laundry services.
True, true. And then there are the reviews, those golden nuggets of wisdom from other travelers. Our guide suggests looking for patterns in the feedback, like are people constantly complaining about noise? Or an unresponsive host. That's definitely a red flag. But on the other hand, if you see glowing reviews about how clean the place is, a welcoming host, or thoughtful little touches that can give you that extra boost of confidence to hit that book button.
It's like having a whole network of advisors who've already been there. But choosing the right place, that's just one piece of the puzzle. We need to talk about the legal and financial stuff too, which can be a little daunting sometimes.
Yeah, it's not all fun and games. Our guide really stresses how important it is to understand local regulations, which, as you can imagine, can be wildly different depending on where you are. We're talking licensing requirements, zoning laws, health and safety standards, the whole 9 yards.
It's about being a responsible renter and a responsible host. Knowing these regulations protects you, and it protects the community. Ignoring them could mean fines, penalties, even legal trouble down the line.
And then there's insurance. Your regular homeowners or renter's insurance. It might not cover you for short-term rentals. Our guide recommends getting specialized coverage that's designed for these specific situations.
It's all about peace of mind. Having the right insurance protects you from liabilities, like if a guest gets injured or there's damage to the property, which is especially important when you're letting strangers into your home. And we can't forget about taxes. They're a big part of this whole thing, whether you're a host or a renter. There are tax things to think about. Hosts have to report their rental income, and renters might have to pay taxes too.
It depends on the local laws. Yeah, it can get pretty complicated. Our guide's advice to talk to a tax professional is spot on, especially if you're not really sure about all the details of rental income and deductions and all that. But hey, let's move on from the legal stuff and talk about how to make the most of your short-term rental experience, whether you're the one hosting or the one staying there.
Absolutely. Let's start with some practical tips for travelers. Our guide suggests checking the amenities list really carefully before you book anything. I know it sounds obvious, but it's easy to get caught up in the photos and all that and overlook the essentials. Do they have a coffee maker? A hairdryer? Is the Wi-Fi strong enough for video calls? It's way better to know these things ahead of time than to show up and be disappointed.
Oh man, I've totally been there. I once booked this rental that had an amazing view, but no coffee maker. And let me tell you, I am not a morning person without my coffee. So yeah, lesson learned. Always double check those amenities. But here's a tip I really like from the guide. They suggest personalizing the space a bit to make it feel more like your own. We're not talking about major renovations or anything, just little things that can make a difference.
Right, like maybe rearrange the furniture a little if you want, bring your favorite pillow or blanket, add some candles, or a houseplant. Those small touches can really make a rental feel more like home. It's all about creating a space where you can relax and unwind.
I love that. It's like bringing a little piece of home with you wherever you go. Speaking of feeling at home, our guide also talks about how important it is to communicate with the host, both before and during your stay. It's a good idea to reach out early on, introduce yourself, ask any questions you have, and make sure you understand the house rules.
It's really about setting the stage for a good experience, for both the guest and the host. Open communication helps build a good relationship and prevents those awkward misunderstandings that can sometimes happen.
And once you're settled in, don't be afraid to reach out to your host if you need anything or if you have any concerns.
Most hosts are happy to help. They want to make sure their guests are having a great time. It's a two-way street, after all.
Exactly. Now, once you've unpacked and settled in, it's time to explore the neighborhood like a local. Our guide encourages travelers to put away the tourist maps for a while and just wander around, soak in the sights and sounds of their temporary home.
It's all about that sense of discovery, immersing yourself in the local culture. You never know what hidden gems you might find when you go off the beaten path.
That's one of my favorite things about short-term rentals.
Yeah.
You're not just visiting a place. You're experiencing it from a resident's point of view. And don't be afraid to ask locals for recommendations. Chat with the barista at the coffee shop. Strike up a conversation with the shopkeeper. Or even ask your host for their favorite local spots.
Locals are the best source of insider knowledge. They can point you to those hidden restaurants, unique boutiques, attractions that you won't find in any guidebook.
And here's a tip that's both practical and eco-friendly. Use local transportation. Hop on a bus. Take the subway. Rent a bike. It's a great way to explore the neighborhood, get a feel for the rhythm of daily life.
It's a sustainable way to travel, too. You're reducing your carbon footprint. Plus, it often gives you a more authentic glimpse into how locals get around. And it's often cheaper than taxis or ride-sharing.
So we've talked a lot about the traveler side of things. But let's go back to the host's perspective for a second. We mentioned the financial and social benefits earlier, but let's be real. Hosting isn't always a walk in the park. Our guide also talks about some of the challenges and responsibilities that come with being a host. I think it's important to acknowledge those too.
Absolutely. Hosting can be incredibly rewarding, but it definitely has its complexities.
One thing our guide really emphasizes is the importance of clear and consistent communication with guests, responding to inquiries quickly, providing detailed instructions about checking in and out, being available to answer questions or address concerns. All of that is crucial for building trust and ensuring a positive experience for everyone.
It's about setting clear expectations and creating a welcoming and professional atmosphere right from the start. Clear communication helps avoid misunderstandings and makes the whole interaction between host and guest much smoother.
And, of course, keeping your property clean and well-maintained is absolutely essential. Guests expect a comfortable and hygienic space, so regular cleaning, prompt repairs, attention to detail, all of that is super important for getting good reviews. And repeat bookings.
It's all about creating a welcoming and hospitable environment. A clean and well-maintained property shows that the host cares, that they're committed to providing a good experience for their guests.
And then there are those unexpected challenges that pop up. A plumbing problem, a broken appliance, a noise complaint from a neighbor. You know things happen.
Being a host means you need to be flexible. You need problem-solving skills, and you need to be willing to deal with issues quickly and professionally. It's all about being proactive and finding solutions to make sure the guest's stay isn't disrupted too much.
Our guide also talks about the importance of understanding and following local regulations, which we touched on earlier. Different cities have different rules about short-term rentals, so hosts need to do their research and stay informed.
It's about being a responsible member of the community, making sure that you're hosting in a way that's ethical and legal. Staying informed about local regulations helps you avoid potential fines or other problems.
And then there's the money side of things. Hosts need to keep track of their income and expenses, understand their tax obligations, factor in costs like cleaning fees, property maintenance, and insurance.
It's really about treating your short-term rental like a business. Understanding the financial side of things is key to making sure it's profitable and sustainable in the long run.
I think it's easy to get caught up in the romantic idea of being a host, but it's important to go into it with realistic expectations. You need to be aware of both the rewards and the challenges. But now I want to shift gears a bit and talk about something I find really interesting. The psychology behind why people choose short-term rentals over traditional hotels.
Yeah, me too. It's fascinating to think about what motivates people, what they're looking for in a travel experience. What did you find in our source material?
Well, our guide doesn't specifically dive into the psychology of it all, but it does give us some clues. Remember that quote we talked about earlier? About experiencing the culture and vibe of a place? I think that shows that people are craving more authentic and immersive travel experiences.
I agree. It's about going beyond the superficial tourist stuff and finding a genuine connection with the place you're visiting. Short-term rentals give you a chance to live like a local, even if it's just for a short time.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the flexibility and control you get with short-term rentals
Yeah.
also plays into this bigger societal shift towards people wanting more autonomy and self-direction. People want to travel on their own terms, set their own schedules, and create personalized experiences that fit their needs and preferences.
It's like they're rejecting that one-size-fits-all approach to travel. Short-term rentals let travelers create their own adventures. They can choose accommodations, locations, activities that fit their interests and travel styles.
And we can't forget about the cost. In a world where everyone's feeling financial pressure, short-term rentals can be a more affordable way to travel, especially for families or groups.
It's all about getting more value for your money, stretching those travel budgets further. Short-term rentals often give you more space and amenities for the same price as a hotel room, which makes them really attractive to people who are trying to save money.
Okay, so we've covered a lot, from the practical stuff like choosing a rental and being a good host, to the bigger picture stuff like the psychology and societal factors that are driving this industry's growth. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to talk about one more thing: the future of short-term rentals.
Ah, yes. Time to look into the crystal ball. What does our guide say about the trends that are shaping this ever-changing industry?
Well, one of the biggest trends is the rise of serviced apartments and serviced residences. These are basically a mix between a home and a hotel. They blur the lines between the two.
It's like the best of both worlds. You get the space and privacy of a rental, but you also get things like daily cleaning, concierge services, maybe even a gym or a pool. It's not surprising that demand for this type of accommodation is going through the roof.
Yeah, our guide says demand is actually higher than it was before the pandemic, which is pretty amazing. It seems like people are really into this new way of traveling. That combines convenience, comfort, and a little bit of luxury. But we can't talk about the future without talking about technology.
True. It's already changing how we travel, and its impact on short-term rentals is only going to get bigger. Think about it. Booking platforms have made it so easy to find and book a rental. Virtual tours give you a sneak peek before you even get there, and smart home features are becoming more and more common. Things like keyless entry, digital concierge services, and better security.
It's all about making the experience smoother and easier. for both hosts and guests. And I'm really excited about the growing focus on sustainability in this industry. Our guide mentions that more and more hosts are making eco-friendly choices, like installing solar panels and energy-efficient appliances, offering bike rentals, encouraging guests to use sustainable transportation.
It's a good sign. People becoming more aware of their impact on the environment. And the short-term rental industry is responding by offering greener options.
So we've got these trends converging: hybrid accommodations, technology integration, sustainability. It makes you wonder what's next for short-term rentals. What new innovations will we see? How will the traveler experience keep changing?
Those are great questions. And I don't think anyone really knows the answers for sure. But the exciting part is, this is a dynamic and constantly evolving industry. And the future of short-term rentals is being shaped right now by the choices travelers make, the innovations hosts come up with, and the bigger societal trends that are influencing how we live, work, and travel.
Yeah, it really feels like we're at a turning point for the travel industry. I
Yeah.
mean, will we start seeing even more personalized recommendations powered by like AI or something, kind of like those algorithms that suggest movies or music based on what you like?
Oh, yeah. Like imagine getting short-term rental suggestions tailored to your specific tastes.
Right. Or what about virtual reality tours becoming the standard? You could walk through a rental before you even book it.
I can totally see that happening. Put on a VR headset, and you're right there in the space. You can feel the ambiance, check out the view, even test out the shower pressure. It's like try before you buy, but for travel.
That would be amazing. And what as eco-friendly accommodations become the norm? Not just a special option for people who are really into sustainability, maybe solar panels, energy-efficient appliances, composting systems. All that stuff could become as common as Wi-Fi and coffee makers.
That would be great. It's definitely a trend that's gaining momentum.
And maybe we'll see a shift towards more community-based tourism, where short-term rentals are really integrated into the local economy, supporting small businesses, providing authentic cultural experiences.
That's a really interesting thought. It's like moving beyond just staying in a place and actually becoming part of the community, even if it's just for a short time.
I like that idea. But what about the hosts? Do you think technology will make it easier for them to manage their properties and interact with guests?
I think it already is, and it'll only get easier. There are already platforms that automate things like communication, scheduling,
Yeah.
even cleaning.
So that frees up the hosts to focus on other things.
Exactly. They can focus on creating those personalized experiences that really make short-term rentals special.
Maybe we'll see more hosts offering things like cooking classes, local tours, even language exchanges.
That would be awesome. It would be a great way for travelers to really connect with the local culture and for hosts to share their passions and knowledge.
And who knows, maybe we'll see even more hybrid models that combine the comforts of a home with the services of a hotel.
Right. Like imagine having a dedicated concierge at your short-term rental, someone who can help you with restaurant reservations, arrange childcare, whatever you need.
It would be like having your own personal travel assistant. The possibilities are pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. But one thing's for sure, the world of short-term rentals is constantly changing, and it's exciting to be part of this.
It really is. It's a time of so much change and innovation. And the best part is, we're not just watching it happen, we're actually shaping the future of travel through the choices we make.
Well said. I think that's a perfect place to wrap things up. We've talked about the good and the bad of short-term rentals, the practical side of things, the psychology behind it all, and we even took a peek into the future. I hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into the world of short-term rentals.
I know I have. It's been a pleasure exploring all these ideas with you and with our listeners. And remember, whether you're a seasoned traveler or just starting out, there's always something new to discover in the world of short-term rentals.
So keep exploring, keep seeking out those authentic experiences, and keep embracing the freedom and flexibility that short-term rentals offer.
And if you're thinking about becoming a host, go for it. Share your space, share your story.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We'll see you next time.